All right, beauty. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Ryan, how you doing, Ryan?
Good.
Cool.
How you doing, Ryan? Wow, we're live. Everybody's here. Gang's all here.
Yeah.
Like it.
We'll give it another. Let's give it another minute. I know a few people usually kind of.
Oh, I think you've given me the ability to share, or I see someone trying to get in the room. I don't know why I would.
Yeah, it's okay. We got that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
That's just in case you need to share screen or anything.
Ah, okay.
So, Alfonso, how far are we going back? We going back far tonight, aren't we?
Well, we can go back.
100 years.
we can go back to the Babylonians.
Hey, listen, if you want to go back there, you can.
I think what it was just, we're just gonna have a conversation, right?
We are.
Just bring up some points and things like that. So, I think the last 100 years have been an important 100 years. Not only have we advanced, but the way we trade is very different, but still the same. I mean, at the end of the day, we are still industrious people, human beings, right? Whether we're trading furs, or we're trading gold or silver, or we're trading money. I mean, at the end of the day, the concept is still there, the concept, but there's some slight changes along the way. So I think that's what we want to talk about.
So you know what? Let's just get this show on the road.
Recording in progress.
All right, everybody, welcome. We are now live. We are recording. We got my good friend Alfonso here. Man, I can't wait. It's gonna be a good event.
We're gonna be talking money.
That's right.
Show me the money.
We're talking Monopoly tonight. All right.
Show me the paper.
What's that?
Show me the paper.
That's right. All right, Alfonso, so listen, before we get started here, I'm going to let Chris jump in, do a quick little intro.
Yeah.
Let everybody know how the event is going to happen this evening. And please, everybody, turn your cameras on. Let me see you guys. Alfonso wants to see you.
And for I have a few people here on my live. How can they find you? They can hear you. They can't see you. So where can they find you quickly so they can jump on the Zoom with us?
So if they go to smarthomechoice.ca, and they can click on events, and from there they can register.
Smartchoice.ca.
Smarthomechoice.ca. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go there and open up some more tickets for your group.
All right, just in case. I see some people there on my live here. So.
All right. Let's get this thing rocking, huh? Guys, we're gonna have a good time tonight. Welcome to another Smart Home Choice event. And I thank you guys so much for coming back. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. You guys are in for a great night tonight. And listen, before we get to all of that, I just want to introduce the team real quick. And then I'll give you guys a little rundown on how things are going to work tonight. So first off, I want to introduce Gary Hibbert and Darlene Hibbert. And they are the captains of the ship, of course. You've got me, Chris Hummel, and Quentin Cordick over there. Now, we're all real estate investors. Gary, Quentin, and I were also real estate agents. So we've been doing this for a number of years, and you guys know, in fact, I'll just say it, we've been doing this for over 10 years, and you guys know that we bring you content, educational stuff every time we come out. So again, thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, guys, salute to all of you members out there. Once again, thanks for the support. You guys keep coming back. Thank you much for that. And I know you keep bringing out your friends, your fellow investors, your JV partners, and we want to continue to help you push forward. So here's how things are going to happen tonight. Around the 30-minute mark, well, first off, we're going to have Alfonso on, and then after the 30-minute mark, Gary's going to jump on, and he's going to tell you guys about what's happening, our next events, things that are going to be coming up going forward. And around the 45-minute mark, we'll try to squeeze in a little bit of time for your questions and answers. But then guess what, guys? We're taking it over to the members-only site, all right? Where we get a little more in-depth, a little more intimate. You guys can ask all the questions you want. Guess what? You're not on the clock tonight, all right? So at the same time, grab a drink, whatever it is, your favorite drink of choice, be it water, rum, that's mine, soft drink, whatever it is that you like, all right? So I'd love to introduce Alfonso real quick. So Alfonso Cuedra, now you've been on our show before.
Yeah, we had a good time.
We did have a good time. We did this some time ago, and actually we were in the thick of it when we did that. Real estate investor, entrepreneur, a speaker. You're the author of a book. You wrote that back in 2012.
Yeah.
From the ground up. TV personality. Well, I can see the mic already. Of your own show, Success by Design. Raised in El Salvador in poverty. Came to Canada at 17.
No, I came. So I came 9 years old. 9 years old.
Oh, you were 9 years old.
Yeah.
With nothing but big dreams, and at 17 you started your own business, and you haven't stopped running from there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So listen. Without further ado, we really appreciate you on. We know you've got big things to tell us. So Gary, Alfonso,
all right, beautiful. We're gonna have a great conversation this evening. I'm looking forward to it. And this is something I think that's dear to my heart. And I know it is as well, too, because, they say history repeats itself. And if it doesn't repeat, it definitely rhymes, right? So why don't we jump right into it? And before we do, Alfonso, I just sent you a text with the actual Zoom link. So if you want to, not a text, but like a chat. So if you take a look at it.
Yeah. So what happened, because I put it on live, what used to happen on my live, and I got a lot of people on here. Thank you for the ones that are joining me on live. What used to happen, I used to not have my phone on airplane mode, and then things would come in, and then people would call, and then it would the live would get interrupted, and then what are you gonna do? It's a live, you can't redo it again, and so I turned off my phone. So
okay, cool.
Whoever's gonna find you, Smart Home Choice.
.ca.
And look for the events. And you'll find this event. You can come in, or you can listen right. They could just continue listening right here.
All right, perfect. So Alfonso, how far do we want to go back? Why don't we start back in the 1920s? Let's go back to there.
Yeah.
And what happened with Germany?
Yeah.
Or inflation, because
so we were having this conversation, and before we get started, it's important that everybody understands. Like, hey, we're not economic majors here.
Correct.
We're like, we may mess up the dates a little bit. so the point is not to be accurate. The point is to share and have a conversation about history and history of money, and as you said, monopoly money, right? Where am I coming from? Yeah, so I've been in business for 26 years. I've built several multi-million-dollar companies. I've been in real estate. I've been a real estate investor for 20 plus years. Built a multi-million-dollar portfolio across Canada, right? And I've been through a lot of this, right? I've been through a few recessions, and for me, I'm just like everybody else, right? We're trying to take in the data and make better decisions moving forward, right? Based on what we know. And so what we're going to talk about here today, it's available on the internet. It's available everywhere for people to go and get further information. So if there's any economists out there or listening to us right now, please, this is not an economy class. Let's talk about what happened to money, what's been happening to money, and where do we see money going based on the information we have.
Right. All right. So we're going to touch first, and
let's go back to World War I,
okay.
1914 to 1918. Right. So World War I. What happened? A lot of things happened during that war. Well, men were gone, and women now had to enter the labor market, right? The job force, right? So now women are now in the job force. So 1918 is the end, the official end of World War I. But now you have 2-income households, and this is the beginning of what they call the Roaring 20s. Right, where banks, now 2 incomes. Now the people are doing good. They're buying Model Ts, right? They're buying all the latest gadgets. Did you know they've never even the first radio advertisement came in around like 1920, right? The very first time, there was no advertising before. They didn't exist, right? It was not, I mean, people didn't have money. And now, all of a sudden, there's two incomes in the household, and then now people have more money. Banks start lending more money, and people can spend, and it really gave a boost to the economy.
Right.
While this was happening, in Germany was going through a very different end of World War One. They were in massive debt. Belgium and France, I think, were controlling Germany at the time, and so they went through hyperinflation. Hyperinflation meaning the value of money gets devalued down to zero. I don't know if you could do that. We were doing it the last time we were talking about, you know, what we would talk about today. We were looking up those pictures of 1923. If someone could just, or can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to share your
I just want to, I'd like to go to Google. Can you guys see that? Or maybe you can go to Google, Gary.
I can see it now.
Maybe you can go to Google and share. Just find a picture. 1923 Germany, and my favorite picture.
Wheelbarrow picture.
Well, my favorite picture was the one of the people sweeping the money in the streets. Like, money became worthless. Money became paper, and people lost confidence in money, and that was like a real eye opener for the world, because, you know, what they thought this money, paper, was valuable. Let me see. Yes. Oh my God. I love those pictures.
There?
Yeah, but go back. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Go back to the images.
All right, hold on here.
I think you might have accidentally clicked on it. But you have it there. I see it. Google 1923. I see it. Yeah. Images.
Right. So there's a pile of money there. There is like people walking in with boxes of money.
Oh,
right. So you can see it all here, right? It was right. Look at this. Look, there's a picture in the streets right there. That's the one you're talking about. Yeah. So money became trash.
Trash. Cash is trash. And
right.
I mean, like, if you see the kids here, it got really serious. These kids are playing with blocks, like big stacks of money, just drawing on the money.
Right here.
Yeah.
There's one there. Right. Okay.
I mean,
so we get the point. So money becomes trash.
Yeah.
Right?
So so now we're going through the Roaring '20s in the U.S.
Right.
Germany is experiencing something very different. You were going to say, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, keep going. So now we're getting into where now we're getting up into the.
Well, we're still in the Roaring '20s, right?
Right. So now
because that event of hyperinflation was the rise of Hitler, right? And now Hitler is now he used that hyperinflation and the complete collapse of the German economy to as a platform on and how he took power and ultimately led to the rise of the Nazis, right?
Right.
I don't think he started the party. Again, I'm not a historian or an economist here, but it was around that time that, and think about when people have their savings, when people have businesses and everything, people just lose everything. He used that anger to get into power and ultimately create what ended up being to World War II later, a few years later. But coming back to the U.S. in 1920s, everybody was good. In fact, from 1918 to 1928, the Dow Jones had increased about 218%. And so people were taking money, and because there was a lot of money being made in the stock market, people were taking money, borrowing money to invest into the stock market. Everything was going into the stock market. Woo! Everything was going into the stock market, And this is when we get to Black Thursday. And
Yeah.
if you guys could circle a date on your on your calendars, it's like October 28th, 1929 was Black Thursday, and you know, it was a serious day. I don't think people were ready for that, you know, and throughout that time, there had been I guess a mandate to take people were bringing their gold, and so this is something that everybody can Google. At some point in history, people used to, obviously everybody knows people used to trade with gold.
Right.
At some point, they started to use paper currency, and between World War I and the 20s, everybody was forced to bring their gold to the bank, and in exchange they would be given these dollars, right? The currency.
And essentially, let me just jump in there. So essentially, by doing that dollar or the $5 bill or $10 bill essentially became a receipt.
Yeah.
And so essentially what it really was you have this receipt. It's kind of like, say, if you take your shirt to the dry cleaner, the value isn't in the actual paper. The value was in the gold that was actually in the bank. And so then if you ever wanted to, you could go back to the bank, get your gold, and have the actual true money.
And
right? Just want to clarify that.
Yes, and people can Google this.
Okay.
It was illegal to own gold.
Yep.
Right. And
so now we go into World War II.
Well,
right?
no, well, first of all, Black Friday, Black Friday, everybody's panicking, and the banks basically closed their doors, right? I remember watching a movie when I was a kid. I think it might have been one of the first movies in English that I watched when I came to Canada when I was 9 years old, was Mary Poppins. Obviously, that movie was made in the 60s or whatever. But if you watch Mary Poppins, there's that scene where everybody makes a run for the bank, and the bank doesn't really have your money, right? Like, they don't have your money. So, some of these banks were closing, and which led ultimately to the Great Depression, right?
Right.
So we're talking now in the between 1929 and up until 1940, this was like pretty much the Great Depression, and in that time we went into World War II.
Right.
And towards the end of World War II, and this is an important date that everybody should know, and I just love talking about this stuff, but in 1944, this is when the monetary system came to it. They reset the monetary system. So what does this mean? Well, before it was just very localized. Now, what they realized that the world was getting smaller. In 1944, please help me out. Bretton Woods. So yeah, Bretton Woods Convention. So everybody can write that down and go and Google it. But 1944, all the countries got together in a top secret conference. Right? No one knew that this was happening, and this is when they decided to reset the monetary system. And what they were going to do is they created a World Bank. All the countries now, not individuals, all the countries now bring their gold to the central bank, and we will give you debt. We will lend you money on your gold. So that's how the World Bank makes money, right? So that's why the economy, money is just debt, really, at the end of the day.
And that was because the U.S. had most of the gold as well, too, right? I think they had 2/3 of the.
And now they're gonna have all of it, right?
Right.
And so now they have now they say, okay, the U.S. dollar is going to be the reserve currency.
Correct.
Right, of the world, right? So it's all backed, and then all the currencies come from that U.S. dollar that is backed by gold.
Gold.
And for the most part, it made sense. If everybody's subscribed to the system, it makes like, okay, we're all okay. This is the people. This is the World Bank. We're all going to borrow money. We all have our gold. So basically, the wealth of the world in gold went to this central bank in the U.S.
Right. And so now people have confidence with that, because if you go through history at any given time, gold has always been the true form of money, right? Yeah. I mean, you go back to Roman Empire time.
The Babylonians. They were trading with gold, you know?
Right. It's gold and silver. So then now there's confidence, and it's backed by, the US dollar is backed by gold. Yeah. So now things are great for the 50s, the 60s.
Well, the 60s, this is when the hippies now came into, people were, like on guitars, smoking ganja or, marijuana. And, and then they started to protest and rebel against things that were happening. The decisions that the government was ultimately making, that, for example, Vietnam War. And so people started to lose trust in the U.S. and they started to, very similar how there's a run for the bank. Well, there was a global run for the bank to get their gold back. So now the countries go and they're like, we want our gold back. So imagine if you're the president, you have all these gold reserves, and all of a sudden everybody's making a run for all their gold. Right. And so this is when President Nixon,
and this also was in line with the Vietnam War as well too.
Well, yeah. So I mean, it was the U.S. was making decisions that people were not either in agreement with, but pretty much when you have citizens, protesting and no one can agree, from the outside, right? That looks like chaos.
Yeah.
And think about your money is sitting where there's chaos. You're gonna want to go get your money back, right? And of course, we're simplifying all of this here because I think we only have 20 minutes or so. But that's simply what it is. I mean, people made a run for the bank. They want to get the countries wanted to get their gold back. And quickly, President Nixon now removed the gold standard away from the US dollar. So basically, he separated the US dollar from the gold standard. So the gold, the reserve currency of the world was no longer going to be backed up by gold, which now means that's
cash.
Cash is trash, and cash is phantom.
Robert Kiyosaki talks about this a lot, and anybody that kind of takes a look at that realize that now the actual US dollar or Canadian dollar, there's no value there.
Yeah, and even though people don't talk about this, but in my view, it's the biggest heist in the history of the world, right? Because it's like, oh, here, like imagine, and I have that. This is what I wanted to bring my. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
I should have had it ready because.
No problem. And let me ask you guys as well too that are listening. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and throw it in the chat box, because I know when I first heard this for the first time, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. I had to kind of go back and watch other additional videos. But once you really understand it, and when I started understanding in 2008, that is when I made the decision that I cannot keep my money in the bank or in cash, and I have to buy real hard assets.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah. So now, now we go through a lot of uncertainty, right? So there's a lot of inflation. Like, right. I mean, we went through a lot of inflation. There was inflationary times, and then it led to the collapse of the stock market again in '87, right? They printed more money. Now we start hearing quantitative easing, right? So if you guys want to write some fancy words and you want to use some fancy words during your next cocktail with your friends, try a quantitative easing, right? And which means printing more money, right? Which means you devalue the value of the fiat currency to begin with. It's fiat currency. It's devaluing by 3%. Then you get into rapid inflation, then hyperinflation by printing more, right? And what happens is there was a lot of bailouts. In order to have these bailouts, you had to print more money. And people don't really understand how hyperinflation works. And this is why I went to get this, because one of my favorite, and just by, I want to know how many people watched The Last Dance. Just give me. I want to. I know there's some. I can't see people's face, but the people that are up here, on my side, how many people watched The Last Dance? Quentin, Gary. I mean, I was addicted to that show. Tell me you guys weren't addicted to that show. I needed the next episode. I'm so used to getting all of my episodes at one time, and then The Last Dance, it's like you had to wait every week for a new episode. And for the people that don't know, Last Dance was the last year Michael Jordan and that Bulls team played, and they did a whole documentary. I don't know how many seasons, how many episodes it was, but it was like one of my favorite shows. But I remember there was a scene in that show where when Michael Jordan had retired from basketball and went to play baseball. I don't know if you remember that. And boom, I finally remembered that I had this Michael Jordan baseball card, right? And I'm like, that's got to be worth at least hundreds of thousands. And so I went through all of my old stuff. I even went to my mom's house, old boxes when I was a kid. And I'm like, Mom, do you remember I had these cards? I'm looking through all this stuff. Boom, I find the card. Look at this. And it's even in this case. So I'm like, I struck gold here. You know what I mean? And then I'm so excited that I go online to see how much this card is worth. And this card was worth $25. $25! I spent days looking for this card.
You thought you had gold.
I thought I had gold. And the reason I bring this up is because it's a perfect way to explain hyperinflation. You see, this card right here was one of the most printed cards that Upper Deck ever had, right? So they pretty much put it in every single deck. So there is like literally hundreds of thousands of these cards. This is why this card is only worth $25. If there is only 5 of these cards, this would be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I remember watching on ESPN, someone had found an old Wayne Gretzky card in their attic, and they sold it for like, it was like one of a kind rookie card or something. I don't even remember how many millions they got for it, because there's only one or one of 20 ever printed in the world. So once you start mass producing something, you devalue the value of money is going down by the second because of quantitative easing, right? So this is the printing of money, and because the money is no longer backed by gold, you can print as much as you want. I mean, right. If you have a printer, you just print more money when you need it, right?
And this is where we are now. And when I figured this out, it was around 2008, 2009. I've shared a few people with this video. Mike Maloney, if you guys want, you can write that name down. And he talks about, I believe it's the history of money. And essentially, he said that when that happened, they are going to print to infinity. And that was from 2008. He predicted that.
Yeah.
And where are we now? They haven't stopped printing. They're printing even more. And here's the thing that people don't realize and understand, and you know, you can jump in here, Alfonso, is that they're like, why is everything going up in value? And it's not that things are getting more expensive, it's that the dollar is getting less valuable.
That's it.
And
the value of money is going down.
Exactly. And anytime anything like this has ever happened in the past, when you look at other countries, there's, you know, if you get the poor, the middle class, and the rich, the poor aren't impacted generally because they're already hand to mouth.
Yeah.
The rich are able to move into this new currency change because we are going to have a new currency. You know it's coming, right? Whether it's blockchain or whatever it may be.
Well, whatever.
And in the middle, sorry.
What? Yeah. No, go ahead. I was just going to say.
I was going to finish off with saying, and then the middle class are the ones that always get wiped out because they're the ones who are left holding all that cash that's trash. Am I correct?
Yeah. In 1944, they had these secret meetings, right, to talk about the reset, right? So up to that point, 1944, they said, we need something new, right? We have to reset. When we talk about a possible reset, it's not fathomable for most people, right?
Right.
But you better believe that these meetings are happening right now because we heard about 1944. I heard it when at some point, 10 years ago, but it's never talked about. But there's meetings happening right now of what you're going to do next.
Right.
Whether it be crypto, whether it be whatever. But ultimately, what do we do? What is the conclusion? What are the options? And maybe that's more up for discussion. But
right.
This is why you see the prices of real estate going up, which in my view, the money, our buying power is going down. But people are moving to
Alfonso,
assets.
Let's hold that thought. Why don't we hold that thought? Like, where should people be putting their money now? And we can have an open conversation. Everybody, if you want, you can turn your cameras on because I think this is going to be an important part of the conversation. Like, what do you do after listening to what Alfonso just said? You know, do you sit on cash or do you do something else with it? And what should you be doing? So listen, if you guys are enjoying this conversation so far, give Alfonso some love, give him some high fives, give him some fives, give him some tens. You know, let him know that you're enjoying what he's been providing so far. And now for anybody who's new, thank you guys very much for being here. I always love seeing new faces. And for anybody that's been with us before, you know, always great to see you guys again. Darlene and I, we started Smart Home Choice back in 2010. And really, again, based on what Alfonso was telling us, and what we heard earlier on is that we need to get into real estate. It wasn't almost like, yeah, maybe we should try it out. It was more like, we need to do this. We need to protect our wealth and we need to be able to provide education and to be able to do things with our family because we knew that our money was getting printed to infinity. Quentin Cordick, Chris Hummel, they are part of Smart Home Choice. They're real estate agents, they're real estate investors, and they're good friends. And you know what, like I always say, it's always great to be doing this with them. Gary Hibbert, my wife, project management, and we finally have somebody new for our admin. Listen, you know what, I had to learn all of that stuff that our admin was doing when she left. I'd forgotten all about it. I was like, man, I can't wait to get our new admin in. So she's gonna be starting in a couple of weeks. We'll get a pic of her soon, and she'll be introduced to the team or to all you guys that are watching. And I always say this, guys, listen, learn, ask questions, right? If you don't really kind of understand what's happening, just listen to some of the questions that are happening, but never ever think that there's a dumb question, right? There were times I didn't know any of this. There's times, Alfonso, you didn't know any of this stuff, right? And so you had to ask the questions to kind of get to where you are today. Have some fun. And like I said, turn your cameras on. Let's see who you guys are. I might bump into you in the road so I can at least say, hey, you know, I saw you on that webinar with Alfonso, and we're talking about, you know, how cash is trash, and now you bought an investment property, right? So turn the cameras on. I want to see what you guys look like. Welcome to all our members. Hopefully you guys are here. Narsing, Kamara, Christina, Robert, Lance, Renee, Monica, Sean, Jay, and Lavina. And don't forget, we're going to be going over to the members only section in about maybe say 15 minutes or so. Okay. Welcome aboard. Upcoming events, we have a wealth building class that Chris and Quentin host. They do a fantastic job in there. And really, that's just really a continuation of this conversation of what we're doing, how to build generational wealth, and how to protect your hard-earned money that you wake up every single morning and go to work for. Where do you put it? What do you do with it? Dave DeBow, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's been one of my mentors from back in the days. We got a mastermind with him next Wednesday, actually, at 8 p.m. And he's going to be talking about raising capital and joint ventures and how to get into real estate, even if maybe you don't have the experience or maybe if you're lacking the funds. So that'll be a great conversation. And then Adelaide, who was our previous admin, she's moved on to bigger and better things. And I did a podcast with her and her grandmother, and we're talking about how she bought her first investment property at the age of 18 and how she was able to do it. She's actually working on her second one right now. So listen, if she can do it at the age of 18 with limited capital and not the credit yet, then anybody on this call can do it as well too. So listen to that podcast, Real Talk with Gary. If you go to Spotify or iTunes, you'll be able to download it and listen to it there. And last but not least, go to smarthomechoice.ca, register, so then that way you will always be up to speed on all the events that we're doing. If you want to learn more about the membership as well too, you can do that as well. And then Quentin is also going to put in, if you want, a call with one of us to talk about more about Smart Home Choice, and that would be to set up a discovery call. All right, with that, let's kind of talk a bit more about this. And Quentin, I'm sure there's some questions in there that we can maybe kind of jump into as well too. And then Alfonso, I'm going to swing it back over to you as well.
Yeah, I think we continue the conversation because Sean just jumped into exactly what you were alluding to right before we went on this break. And so, what's the suggestion? Do you run out and buy some gold? Do you buy real estate? What other hard assets? And the other question that came in, Alfonso, Krista's asking, who owns the World Bank? So you talked about these meetings that are taking place, so maybe you can touch on that and continue the conversation.
Well, it's funny because we have more choices now of where to put our money than we ever did before, right? So even with technology, we've created new commodities like cryptocurrency, right? And a lot of people believe in cryptocurrency. Having a uncentralized banking system. It sounds exciting. It sounds like, and when you hear about people making, they bought Bitcoin at $10 and now it's worth like, 100,000 or 68,000 or, like, it sounds exciting, right? This is my point of view. It is a commodity, and you should treat it that way. You should treat it like you would the stock market. I wouldn't put all my eggs there, right? And what's going to happen if we reset the monetary system, and they make it illegal to use uncentralized Bitcoin or Dogecoin. What was the other one? The one that started as a joke?
Which one? So Bitcoin, Dogecoin.
There was one that started as a joke and then it just became like valuable.
I'm not sure which one it is.
I think it's Dogecoin or I mean, and by the way, I'm not too versed on Bitcoin, but this is what I can tell you. We are going to have to go to some sort of a cryptocurrency. What that cryptocurrency is, we don't know. What's going to happen to our current currency, we don't know, right? But this is what I do know: hard assets that no one can take away, is where I would be investing and putting in, storing my wealth, right? And so, if people want to pay rent. Right, because my choice is real estate. It doesn't have to be everybody's choice. My choice is real estate, and if people want to pay rent with Bitcoin, I'll take it all day. Pay it with. If you want to pay your rent with chickens, I'll take that too. You know what I mean? I remember back in March of 2020, we didn't know if people were going to pay their rent, and we have hundreds and hundreds of tenants all across Canada. Leading up to April 1st, we didn't know what people were going to do. But this is what I know. If there's a global monetary collapse, I'm in your house. Whatever value, you're paying your rent. You know what I mean? And so there's always that hard asset that can't be taken away. Now, gold is another asset, I would say, another asset class that a lot of people go to as well. But then there's a cost of storing gold. I mean, you buy a gold bar where you can put it in your house. No, you have to find a place to store it. There's storage fees for gold. For me, it just real estate works, right? I understand it as long as you buy it reasonably and there's cash flow, things make sense. Even in this day and age, when we start to see that some of the deals, and I get this question all the time, traditionally 25% down would work. Hey, instead of having a negative performing asset, why not just put 30% down, right? People were doing that in the 90s, and I mean, don't get stuck on the deal doesn't work. How can you make it work is the question. Maybe you have to put more equity, but at the end of the day, in my view, and that's my personal opinion, real estate is the best way to hedge against inflation. Now,
Right.
We can't deny that inflation is happening, right? 3%. The government of Canada says we're at 4%. I mean, I call
Talk about that, Alfonso.
I call bullshit on that.
and so do I.
Yeah.
And so do I.
But that's old data. They're looking at things that were happening back in, they're looking at 2020 and trying to, they're behind. I mean, when you go to the grocery store, when you look at real estate, when you look at anything, prices have gone up, and it's not 4%.
Now, somebody might ask, what about interest rates? Do you think that they can raise interest rates? I mean, they've been saying they've been trying to raise interest rates since 2009, 2010.
Yes,
it's been going down.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So here's one thing I'll say. Who benefits from hyperinflation? The governments right now are going to benefit from hyperinflation. Let's talk about the U.S. government that is going into $50 trillion in debt. Think about this, trillion, right? Try to write a trillion. You can't. I bet you guys can't even write it without questioning how many zeros you're putting. I can't even. I can't even. $1 trillion. What does even $1 trillion look like? But the U.S. is going to be $50 trillion in debt by the time all this is done. All countries in the world are going to be massively in debt. It's easy to borrow $50 trillion if the interest is zero. I'll take that. I take that all day, right? And right now, they need to print more money, and they need to inject more money so it stimulates the economy, right? And I think it's doing its job. I think that was the intent. The intent is to flood the market with money so you create more. They don't want hyperinflation, but they want rapid inflation. If your $50 trillion now looks more like 10 trillion, then they're back to what they were doing back in 2019. The value, they paid down their debt using inflation. Now, if we hit hyperinflation, this is where I think we're headed for a reset, right? Because at some point it's just going to be ridiculous. I mean, a house will be worth like $1 trillion, and if you don't think it can happen, look at Zimbabwe, look at Venezuela, look at how easily money can become worthless. But interest rates, what you brought up, there's going to have to come a point where they're going to have to balance, right? They're going to have to slow down the rapid inflation by increasing interest rates. And this is going to be a bit of a balancing act, because it either is going to crash, like things will crash, or people will panic, or it's going to cause inflation. This is what you know, finance leaders are working with right now, trying to figure out how to increase interest rates, keep some sort of inflation happening without squeezing everybody, without panicking everybody. And it's definitely the interest rates going up are going to go up. That's for sure.
All right.
That would be a way to balance things up.
All right. Quentin, is there any more questions in the chat box there? And if anybody has a question that's on, you can unmute yourself as well too.
Yeah, Nick Paul was just asking if we can touch more on the Canadian economy and the market as well.
Yeah, Canada, 30 million people. We don't produce anything. We don't produce anything. And the one thing that we're producing no longer is valuable. So I mean, okay. They talk about universal basic income.
Yep.
I think Canada would be a great country to have that experiment, right? To see how that. I mean, I don't know how that would work, but we don't produce anything. So what is our production, right? So now, of course, we produce ideas. People could say, yeah, ideas, but we don't have infrastructure to keep those ideas or produce something here. They try. I mean, there's of course we have products, and I'm really being kind of comical at the moment, but Canadian economy, we have so much land. We have so much land, and only so many people. So in my point of view, remember, this is just my opinion. I think immigration is needed here in this country, right? And so for the past 2 years, we've not seen much immigration, and I think that's going to be a huge factor coming into 2022. I don't know if someone can pull up the stats. I think they're planning on 1.5 million new immigrants coming to Canada.
I think they want to increase it to like 400,000 a year.
I know, but essentially, because we're backed up. We're backed up on our immigration. Now, what is immigrants come with ideas? They come with heart, passion. They want to work. I mean, the biggest problem right now is you can't even find people to work. Right?
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, you see help wanted or whatnot. Right? And so, I believe that immigration is going to play a big factor in jumpstarting the economy. We're on this holding pattern. Obviously COVID has come and put us in a holding pattern, and everybody's just kind of waiting, right? Which is why, you see also real estate is impacted by that, because that's kind of like the only thing people can do.
Right.
But it's a good question.
So listen, we are at the mark here where we're going to move over to the members only section here. So listen, thank you guys all very much for joining this evening. I appreciate it. Doris, if you want, you can maybe start moving people over. I'm going to stick around with anybody that's brand new for the first time joining our event, and just talk a little bit more about what we do. And then I'm going to move over with Alfonso and the rest of the folks and continue the behind the scenes conversation.
And because it's behind the scenes, I'll stop my live here.
All right.
So say bye to my friends.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
so go get your drinks, go get your glass of wine.